me just a moment. And popping out. Oh, that helps if I switch accounts to the appropriate account. Yeah, there we go. And then pop out chat. And yeah, it's taking a few seconds longer than usual. I got stuff going on. My brain is poofed. Poofed. And ta-da! Yeah. Hello everyone. Welcome back, and if you're watching this later on YouTube, don't forget the whole like, subscribe, bell icon, the usual, any cubic photons, king. And today we're going to be making another member of the crew for the artillery. I should be done with the goblins tomorrow midday. If I don't manage to get it done by midday tomorrow, it'll be Saturday. Because midday tomorrow I've got things going on. Anyway. Back on Tuesday, we made the crewman who loads the trebuchet. Today, we're going to make the crewman that's holding the maul that they use to knock the stick out from under the trebuchet's bucket and knock the catch off the trigger on the ballista. Which means, as I was thinking about it, we really need a different maul. The maul that's currently what I got loaded is just a bit more, a metal head. This needs to be like just a wooden chunk of wood, a round like log chunk on a stick. Boom! And as such, we're going to go ahead and start in 3D Studio Max. We're going to import meshes, resculpt, props, morph 2, no, not morph 2, morph 3, no, not morph 3, old, and it'll be maul right hand. Okay, so collapse all. And what we're going to do, well, first we need to make these not gray, and we need to be able to see the darn things. There we go. Alright, what we're going to do, let's take here, actually let's delete this. And we're going to select here, connect. What we're doing is we're going to make this have two sizes. Okay. Then make sure we have only what we need selected, loop. We're going to chamfer at 0.001, 2. And then we're going to add in one more and kind of drag that up here. And then mesh smooth, collapse all, And before we do anything else, we're gonna grab here. I'm gonna drag it down a bit that way, just to make sure that it's covered properly. Okay. Now we go to cylinder. We make sure that we have it height segments of 1, cap segments of 2, and size of 10. And we're going to start here and make it there. And then we're going to come around to here. We'll be coming around to there. Editable poly. Effect center object. And now, this x is negative 12.725. Wait, no. Okay, that's negative 1313. Negative 13.13. Okay, and then here, that's 15.9, and here, 15.91. There we go. Now we're going to select here, loop, chamfer, 0.1 or 2. And then we're going to select here, connect to okay. And then we're going to mesh smooth it once. Twice. Collapse all. Attach the head. And then here, whoop, turn on the angle snap. There we go. 45. Okay. Actually, let me go ahead and do one more thing. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger around. There we go. Now that's going to be File, Export, Selected, Wavefront OBJ. It's called Wavefront OBJ because the format was originally developed for a program called Alias Wavefront. And they originally were the makers of Maya. So, Reskull props. No, not we want to put it into or record War Machines through. Let's just call it Mall. Yes. Of course, if you paint it black, it becomes a dark mall. Hey. No one in yet. Okay, so we're going to take our guy. Parameters, races. Make him a regular orc first. Content library, load in the orc tusks. Choose the jaw, parent the tusk to the jaw, and then lower the orc to 0, raise the mixed horde orc, and then we're going to kind of z-translate it a bit to there. And we're just going to, let's lower this brow a little bit. And raise this one. Just enough to give him a little bit of personality. Let's actually bring that back. Okay. Now, we're going to start with a base pose. And I think what I have here as Triumph is pretty close. Well, I'm going to memorize the jaw, brows, edit, figure, memorize, selected items, pose. And that, edit, figure, store, figure. Selected items, pose. Yeah. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and load in, well, first Control D to drop to the ground. Control D to drop to the ground. Then we're going to load in the mall and pivot it. Import mall. Control D to drop. And then from the top view, let's go ahead and move it. We're going to kind of move it over to here. Now, everything from here to the hand itself, we're going to go to all, we're going to make twist to 0, bend to 0, side to side of 0. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to play around with Alright, that's too much on the side to side with the shoulder. Okay, what we're basically trying to do here is we're trying to go ahead and get it in a nice position for the use of that wall. Alright, now okay. Now we're gonna lock this. In translation and rotation. Grab here. That's all we really needed to do. Now we need to bring that thumb out. And it's pretty simple. And then we're going to lower the arm a bit. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, just to make sure, we got to remember to go in here and under modifiers, turn that smooth torso to 0. Yeah. There we go. That's all I needed to do. And now we're going to give him a kilt. And we're going to give him poofy boot cuffs. Do I have anyone actually in? No, I don't. So it's just me for right now. Alright, so we hide the maul. Oh, actually, we take the maul and we're going to parent it to the right hand, but we're still going to hide it. We're going to hide the tusks. We're going to hide the tunic skirt and the boot cuffs. File. Export. And this is going to be maul body. Accept. File. Export. Maul tusks. Accept. File. Export. Maul. File. Export. Maul kilt. Accept. And file. Export. Maul boot cuffs. Accept. Okay, and then we go to ZBrush. Yeah. We're going to import Horde War Machine's crew maul body. Whee! And then we're going to do append the other parts. Import maul kilt is next. Append. Import maul boot cuffs. Append. Import maul tusks. And then append. Import maul. Okay, so we're going to hide these, because what we need to do is go ahead and tweak his clothing. We're going to make him a scale Barney, basically. A sleeveless tunic. So, first thing we need to do is we need to come in here, frame, and then go to, we're going to inflate the mouth closed here, because we need to have it mostly closed when it comes time to actually, like, you know, blend the thing. We also are going to smooth the chest area and here, because those will be mostly, let's go ahead and this will be mostly part of the barony. Also gonna smooth out the butt because we don't need a butt. Now I'm gonna break out the tablet because I really need a little bit more control with what I'm doing. And we're gonna make the mouse just a little bit larger, and we're gonna kind of re-emphasize this area of the back. And then we're going to smooth it just a bit. And we go in, and we're going to mesh smooth a couple times with the subdivision. And my typical Dynamesh of 768. And we're going to unwrinkle this area of the back. Okay. Next step is to go to the kilt itself. We're going to give it one layer of subdivision for what we're about to do. We're going to use move. We need to make it about as big as the belly, just a little bit bigger. So that we can then come in, grab it around the front center and drag it out to the belly, and then just pull out just a little bit in each way. Alright, and then grab the bottom and pull forward, or pull back actually. And then we're going to subdivide it until it's pretty clear. Then it's going to shrink this down and just start cleaning up a lot of this upper seam. Just to make sure that we're getting this right. Alright. Now, one more. And we're going to merge down. Always okay. And then, okay. Now we're going to shrink the mouse again. And we're going to smooth out this seam. Yeah, I am horribly jealous right now. A local game streamer, and by that I mean they stream the playing of Warhammer, the Warhammer 40k, got rated by Critical Role. Yes, Critical Role. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the hands and fingers and the forearms. And I'm going to basically mark off what will be the barony. Well, after I bring the focal shift over. Gonna come high up the shoulder and then down like that. High up the shoulder and down that way. Okay. And then come around from back here. And here. Now for the neck of the tunic area. Just kind of draw this across. And from here down. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and come up to here, but I'm going to then erase here. Kind of clean up that line there. Yeah. And then we're going to come down this way. And bring it across here. Once again, clean up the line a bit. And then make it a little bit thicker here. And fill this in. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to make the bottom of the scale Barony. Well, after we erase that. Now, we're going to give it a gap. Whoa. We're going to give it a gap above the bottom edge of the under tunic. Which, yes, does mean he's wearing better clothing than most orcs. But then again, he's also got a pretty dangerous job for an artillery crew. He's the closest to the firing mechanism. Which means if it goes clack, he goes kasplat. I mean, if he's in the wrong spot, knocking out the stick underneath the trebuchet, that bucket full of sand and rocks and stuff will end up knocking him, several hundred feet. Kaboom! Or just landing on top of him and hammering him into the ground like a nail. Not quite so bad with the ballista, unless the rope breaks, in which case all of a sudden it's like a bandsaw wrapping around him and turning him into a nice little shredded orc. Okay, there's a little bit right there. And I'm going to shrink this and we're kind of blend that there. Okay, now frame out. We are now going to extract the thickness of 0 without double and extract. Okay. Accept. We're going to turn this off. Turn it back on and turn off that. Now this, let's go ahead and make this very simply, get this cleared out. Auto groups. And then geometry. Modify topology, delete hidden, because there were some pieces that were on the chin. Okay. Now, next step is to, on deformation, push it ever so slightly. So we inflate just ever so slightly. Now we go to geometry, Z remesher half. And we're going to start halving the polygon count. Go ahead and turn that on so we can see the polygon count as it decreases. And it takes less and less time each time it does this because we have fewer polygons to recalculate. Now the reason we're using Z remesher and not Dynamesh will close those holes. Z remesher will also give a slightly cleaner topology when it comes time to actually cut it up to map, because that's what we're getting ready to do. We're going to map this in a program I have called UV Layout, although you can map it in any program you normally use, such as Blender, Max, whatever. And see, it's just quicker and quicker. Okay, now here we're going to need to inflate it just a little bit more. There we go. Now, what's going to happen is I am now going to export this as small Birney. And then I'm going to subdivide it a few times. Delete lower, go to stroke, go to curve functions and frame mesh. What this does is it puts a curve line on each of those edges. The reason I did that is I can now go in here and use the curve tube. No, I don't like that. It's too large. And go ahead and at say 16, make trim that'll be on the edges of this Birney. Split unmasked points. Okay, then we're going to merge all of them together. And geometry, subdivide a couple times, delete lower. And now we're going to put our mouse there because after we map, we're going to be replacing this with the mapped version. Now, UV Layout isn't that expensive, but it is something that is kind of a professional level program. It's for what it does, it's kind of expensive, but it's exactly what I need. Work Horde, War Machines, Crew, Mold, Birney. Okay. Oh, Nikes. I forgot something. Before I re-export it, I need to go back to Geometry, Modify Topology, Close Holes. Because There. Now it's solid. So we're going to go ahead and export this as Malbirney. Save. Yes. We're gonna, before we take it into there, we're gonna go ahead and bring it in here. And the reason for this is here I can come in Malbirney and not import as a single mesh. What this does is it automatically splits the caps and then just immediately go back. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, heck. Alright. Yeah. Frame. Geometry. Z remesher. Keep groups. We're going to have to go back down to as close to 30 as we can. Nice, simple. The lower polygon count, the much easier it is to map. At least once or twice more. There we go. Export. Malbirney. Okay. We'll come back in here. File. Import. Malbirney. Import. Okay. Now, select them. What that does, by making them separate groups and loading them into 3D Studio Max, that automatically splits the edges where they are. Now we come back into here, load. And there we go. So now we can drop the caps. And then split here, 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 and here. And then hit enter and it pulls it off. Drop, drop. Display UV view. F to flatten. And then select them. Optimize, run for, let's put it at 10, but it won't need anywhere near that amount of time. There. Now, we're going to, since this is going to be scales, we're going to make them upside down. And then we're going to select these guys and make them much smaller because they don't need to be. Alright, now rotate, align to axes, close that, pack, best, 3 bleed, back all. Okay, and just to make things a little bit simpler, let's select these guys and move them just a bit further away. Yeah. Now, close pack, edit, auto fit, and off, and save. Done. Dismiss, exit, exit, and back to ZBrush, subtool, import Malbirni. And now, under geometry, we're going to subdivide until it's... Oh. We're going to go to modify topology and weld points. Then we're going to subdivide. One there. Going to deformation and push. Inflate it just a little bit so that it's... Yeah. Then we go to surface. Noise. UV. Alpha. And we're going to make sure we get our nice, cool, little nifty scales. Basic noise there, strength pretty high. Okay, so... Yeah, that's the one I need. And then we're going to drop that alpha scale down till it's about... No, it's too small. 0.3? No. 0.255. Yeah, not 0.23. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay. Mask by noise. I'm going to hide him. We're then going to masking and invert. And we're going to mask off all these caps so that it's not affected. And then make both the trim and the orc visible. Then go back to deformation. We're going to inflate until the scales look good. We're then going to masking and inverse again. And once again, mask off all the caps. And this time, we're going to, under deformation, we're going to deflate. It's going to make the edges of the scales just a bit sharper. Make a little bit more fancy. Okay. Now, draw. And we're going to polish one. Okay. Now, we're going to select our trim and we're going to go to deformation. We're going to slowly start inflating it until it's actually above the majority of the scales. Okay. Now we're going to select the scales themselves again. And we're going to here. Actually, we're going to deflate first. And we're just going to sit here and clean up some of these areas where the scales are overlapping into the trim in a way that they really shouldn't be. Okay. We're going to frame out again. Now the next thing we're going to need is a belt. To make this belt, we're going to hide the bearing and trim for a minute. We're going to find a nice decent angle at which to make our belt. And we're going to make a belt. Let's make the scales visible again. And then we're going to extract a thickness of 0.03. Extract? No, not enough. 0.045. Extract? Not quite enough. 0.05. Extract. Accept. Draw. Select our Orky buddy and draw. And then let's go ahead and give it. Let's inflate it just a little bit. There we go. That's good. And then we go to our insert bit, and we're going to insert a belt buckle. Right about here. Nope. We forgot to change the depth. The embedded depth needs to be +10. And then we can come in here and make our belt buckle. And then with move and a large brush, we can kind of move it into place. Okay, that'll do. Then we go ahead and detach the unmasked parts. Go to it, geometry. Then we change focus shift on the move to 0 and bring that size down a bit. And then we're going to grab here and pull it in. And the same thing here. Okay, frame out, zoom out. Now the reason I'm zooming out like this is to check to see how it looks at this scale. No pun intended. And it's looking pretty good. Now, make these visible and trim. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make the legs look like pants. And we're going to do that with the clay buildup tool, which while we are here, we're going to use auto masking and backface mask. And we're going to change that for that. And we're going to just build up our legs just a bit to make them look like they're pants tucked into this these boots. Now this crewman will not be on Thingiverse. This will only be with the Green Tide Weapons of War Machines bit. Okay, then we're just gonna kind of just briefly go over the surface of this to kind of blend them in and smooth out the wrinkly bits. We're then going to go to slash, and since we've already got stroke out, we're going to make sure to get lazy mouse turned off, zoom in, and reduce the intensity to 14, and reduce the size of the brush. And what we're going to do, we're going to come down there, down there. We're going to kind of zigzag these folds and grooves. Okay. Now, I know this isn't realistic, but it does give a nice little weird fashion decision on the part of the orc. It would be, in reality, it'd be very similar to the puffed and slashed style of the Landsknecht. Now we're going to add 8. And we're just going to come under each of these, the bottom of each of these little bits. And then down on this side, this leg. Either way, there's no way this can be mistaken for bare legs. Okay, frame out. Now, we're going to go ahead and play with the maul. Well, let's go ahead and make the tusks visible just because they do kind of need to be. And we're going to make the tusks a little thicker. And the way we're going to do that, we're just simply going to inflate them a little. Okay. Then we're going to grab the snake hook, oddly enough. I'm going to grab it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to grab and kind of pull back a little. Got really big tusks because he's got the guts. He's really big. That means he has big guts. Rip and tear. So next up is going to be the maul itself. So we go to the maul. And we're going to hide everything else because we want to play. So we go to geometry. We're going to subdivide until it's nice and smooth. And then we're going to Dynamesh at 768. Well, 68. Then one more divide. We're going to come up top here. Actually, we're going to come to here. What we're going to do is we're going to try and... There we go. Perfect. we're going to mask off all the absolute edge of both the head and the top. Because what we're going to do, perfect. We have a nice nifty little alpha that we can use with a negative. Turn this to a drag rectangle and lazy mouse off and backface mask. And then we're going to load in an alpha. Specifically, that, our infamous wood alpha. That's not enough. It needs to be deeper. And we need to be a bit more goofy about it, about how large it is. Brrr. Okay. And here. Okay, and then here. Now we're going to... Oh, wait. Alpha. Inverse. There we go. No. Okay. Okay. And then here. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and polish it. One. Deformation. Polish. Yeah, there we go. It makes it look nice and good. Then we're going to rake. And what we're going to do with the rake, we're going to make it bigger. Z sub, not quite as long. And we're just going to kind of drift it. First of all, we need it bigger. We're going to kind of use this to just make our little, not just a wood grain, but almost more of a bark look. And then finally, we're going to go to orb cracks, turn off lazy mouse, increase the intensity. We're going to shrink it, and we're going to put in a couple of exactly what it says. Alright, that's way too big. A couple cracks. We got one right here and one right here. And then one right here. Alright. Frame. And now we're going to make him visible. And this is our maul wielder. Hello, Ben and Largash. Sorry I did not respond immediately. I was in the middle of sculpting, and there was nobody else in chat. Now, as usual, we got to make him actually into one of the current edition or current generation orcs. So I need to break open the inflate tool. Oh. And we're going to kind of just add. I'm going to bring out this chin. And again, since he's one of the, apparently one of the older orcs, we're going to give him a bigger chin. We're going to give him a full-on big old chin. There and here. Then we're going to go to slash and Z sub 17, a little bit bigger, a little bit less intense, and one down the middle of the chin, one here, one here, one here, one here. That makes sense. That plus some, let's give him some wrinkly. A wrinkly face. There we go. Now, there we go. Meow. Burp. Meow. Burp. That's the actual name of that particular stroke, is the mere burp. And we have. He's finished. Except we now have to detail the hands and detail the boots, then he's done. Okay. So it's going to start with inflate. Draw size 11. I'm just putting that because it's a very arbitrary size, and it might be appropriate for what we're doing. It's not. Looks like it's more. Needs to be draw size 19. So it's going to be inflate there, inflate here, inflate here, inflate here. And then we're going to draw on the tendons. And we're going to smooth out the back of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Now we're going to inflate the inside of these hands, this hand right here. The reason being is because by closing this hand off, we are, oh, I better do one other thing. Right now, let's back face mask. By closing the inside of, actually no, we don't want back face mask. Now to continue, by closing the inside of this hand off, what we're doing is we're making it a lot easier to print and a lot easier to paint. is there are two primary goals here. I mean, it's one thing to make something extra detailed that looks absolutely gorgeous. But when our goal is for the average person to be able to paint these and have them look good, you know, it's not necessarily a great thing. Now, we're gonna swell inside this thumb, swell in here, and then we're gonna get the move topological brush, make it about that big. Oh, no. And basically we're going to try and merge this thumb onto the fist. Back to inflate. And there we go. Now, there, 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 there. We're going to smooth this one pass over each of the knuckles. Frame out, and that hand looks a lot more, you know, knobbled and such. Now, we're going to hide them all just for a second, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fully inflate the underside of these fingers to fuse it to the mall. Make sure it fuses to that mall. There. Now, knuckle, 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 knuckle. Draw, 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 draw. Smooth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're just going to put on some knuckles and do a smoothing pass. 1, 2. A little bit further, a little bit further. Same as index, same as index. A little bit earlier, a little bit earlier. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Next we're going to slash, frame, hold on just a second. Okay. Messages I was getting that had nothing to do with this. Yay! We're going to frame out. Now, right now we are at G sub. Make it a little bit bigger. We're going to draw on our wrinkles on the boots. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and draw on a couple... Oh, it's too big. 1, 2, 3. Draw on a couple wrinkles here and here. And then there. Notice I'm not placing them, you know, centered. I'm just kind of wherever. That's too far away. And then on the back, we're going to make them just a little. Now we're going to add, drop it down to 9, and like a zigzag surrounding these wrinkles. And the same thing here. We're going to do the same thing on this. not going to do the same thing on the front of on the toes, though. Now, you notice we don't really do this on clothing. That's because these are the kind of wrinkles you get in old, long-term use leather. You know, the leather's cracking there and stuff like that. Now we frame out, and okay, now that is our finished orc. You'll notice that even though it is a very basic pose, it's still got a good bit of character to it. A little bit of arrogance. Yeah. And he's the only member of the artillery crew wearing medium or heavier armor. 5th Ed D&D scale is medium armor. And in Warhammer 3rd, there actually used to be a category between light armor and heavy armor that gave them like that. So, we're going to do our usual, and we're going to merge down everything. And like I said, this will not have an integral base. Because this is not part of, this is not being sent to Thingiverse, this is going to be part of the Green Tide. Geometry, and control, drag, and it redynameshes. What are you doing? What are you doing? Insane fuzz bucket. I'm not done. I'm still working in the program. Go. Okay, so that is 1.296 million polygons. And as has been said many times, that's way too much to print. So, we go to Z plugin. We go to the plugin. We're going to put this, let's make this 50K because of the scales, the boot puffs, and the head of the maul. And reordering, and 101,789 triangles. Okay. So we're going to export this guy. Orc Horde, War Machines, Crew, Green Tide Artillery Firer. Green Tide Artillery Firer. Okay. Do I still have people watching, or am I back to only being by myself? And once again, we look at that, at how long it took me to make that orc. Admittedly with no base, but that's moments. And you look at what I was making in almost twice as long last year at this time. And I'd like to say that I've gotten a lot better. I've still got a long way to go. I mean, hello? Now, this would be almost impossible to print. I'll admit that. At full scale, this would be very difficult to print. So, I'm still trying to find that beautiful, nice, balanced point between, you know, the ultra high detail of that and the printability and paintability. Because that's a nightmare to paint. It's just wow. So I'm gonna poke my head into Discord and see if anyone's been waiting on me. So, is anyone awake out there? Hello? Ready for shooting the breeze about subjects and matters and stuff? Subjects and matters and stuff. It's very important thingies. One thing I'll discuss is that there's any number of ways to make any given texture. I mean, the mall. The way I put that, wood grain tree ring texture on the mall, I could have done it that way. The ram is halfway across the battlefield heading straight for the front gate. Or for you, it's... Chariots are going to be the rough parts of the war machines. Yeah, the chariots are going to be what's rough. What I plan on doing is making the orc scaled chariot with two boars, taking the chariot itself and shrinking it down a little bit and putting two wolves, and then adding in the details that make it orky or goblin-y, like the drivers. But that either way, that will leave room on the base for an orc and a base for a goblin. So you can have like a chariot with an archer, chariot with a leader type, whatever. Chariot with a weapon and shield guy. Chariot with a spearman. Chariots of fire. Dun 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 dun. For those of you who watch Chariots of Fire, 85% of that is fiction. Like, the idea that some Greek guy thought that To Anacreon in Heaven was a better melody than God Bless America, or whatever it was that he had to decide between. That's pure fiction. The whole bit about the guy with the discus, though, is not. And I have a Ralph. Ralph is the one with the collar, as if you couldn't tell. Yeah. He's the snuggly. It's a snuggly. It's a snuggly. Anyway. Yeah. The way I'm doing the battering ram, 2 orcs, but there's multiple copies down the length of a big trunk, wheels fastened to it, and a boar's head. Or a crude sculpted boar's head. It won't look like the real thing. And I don't mean boar's head cheeses and meats. Do I? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. Somebody is purring. So, the idea is that these orcs are all just pushing the ram and dun, 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 dun. I just had an idea for an evil dwarf battering ram. It's got a couple dwarves in front and some crude gunpowder rocket engines on the back. With a dwarf on top and a steering wheel. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh. The wood grain on the side of the mall. And what I did was I used a very very simple method, and that's the rake tool, which is one of the standard brushes in ZBrush. You just drag it along, and it creates those grooves. And by making sure you do not have lazy mouse on, you get a more natural meandering grain or bark effect. Do you mind? I have dropped many resin models. In fact, Fuzzbutt, what are you doing? No. Let go. Let go. Let go. Down you go. Nope. Down you go, little buddy. Shoot. One of the most famous drops happened shortly before you started watching Largash. He fell. Right here is a seam. Back of the hand. And where was the other one? Yeah. Base of the foot. I dropped it. And resin doesn't shatter, it breaks. So you can put it back together again. It's not like it goes, it just. It actually, in person, they're more noticeable because of the paint. If I had painted it after, wouldn't tell. But because I dropped it after I painted, you can see them. I've also had some of my fellow players in D&D have dropped their figures and broken at the ankle or broken the weapon, or in one case broken the middle of the body. But again, a little bit of super glue does wonders. Never have the cats knocked off a figure. My cats don't knock things off. I can't explain it. Oh, in case you're wondering where Shinju is, there's a fresh basket of laundry in the hall and she's sleeping on it. Now, any other thingy and ideas and stuff? Like I said, I should be done sometime later with the Gabos. Okay. I will probably have them, if they're not out by midday tomorrow or tomorrow night, they will be out by Saturday. That is the end of story. Okay? Alright. Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? Oh. I need to let you know something. I'm going to tell you now. On June 17, I'm getting an evaluation done for a possible massive multiple extraction. When that extraction happens, I won't be broadcasting for about a week. There will be a whole week, no broadcast. Because I'm going to have multiple teeth missing. Like this for guards and stuff. So, yeah. My evaluation is the 17th. It could be anywhere from a few days to several weeks after that the actual extraction will take place. So, who knows when it's gonna happen? It's gonna happen sometime, and when it does, it's gonna be a thing. You know, it's gonna be a stuff and a thing and the what's it called and the wizards. And I'm probably gonna be on happy pills. Because when you have multiple extractions, it's gonna hurt. Now, I know I'm watching. I know Largash is watching. He's right there. Who else is watching? Who else is sitting here going, interesting, you got some background noise. You know, don't have to actually have it on the screen, but yeah, your background noise. Who else is here? Just kind of wondering. Anyway, among other plans that I have, the entire concept of the ancient ruins is definitely moving along. Excuse me. I am considering some different things, but yeah. As for Sunday's show, Sunday at 1, Largash, I will be finishing your Orc Anti-Paladin. At 8, I don't know. I'll figure out something by 8, you know? Well, it's almost 9. I may as well go ahead and log out and then get back to work on some uber super secret stuff. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, go to eyebrows. So in order to do that, I have to log out of here. And as usual, that's going to be, I have a hand up here. And this hand, when people see this hand, they know I'm getting ready to log out. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit F5 on the screen just to make sure I'm looking at the most recent version of the image. And I've got the 5. And I got the 4. And I got the 3. And I got the 2. And I got the 1. Rocket Dwarves. Sounds like a good name for an indie band.